Welcome to the That's Good Broncos podcast here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe in the podcast places, subscribe on YouTube. I don't give a shit, just as long as you never forget about me, Brandon Perna, your host, and Will Keys, your other host. I don't even like saying co-host. Like I want us to be on the same page. It's host and host. You know what I mean, Will?
Yeah, I like that.
Co-host.
It's 50.
Yeah. Co-host sounds like it's you're less than me.
It sounds like a domestic partnership of some kind.
This is my co-partner that we share a dwelling with.
Yeah, there's only been one game in Super Bowl history with co-MVPs. You think maybe that could happen again?
Ooh, no, I don't.
I don't either.
I don't.
Yeah, there's also been. I was writing a video for Adam on the least deserving Super Bowl MVPs of all time, and I found out that though the Cowboys have 5 Super Bowl wins, which is not the most in the NFL. Got the Patriots and the Steelers with 6. They have the most Super Bowl MVPs. The Cowboys have 7 Super Bowl MVPs because their linebacker Chuck Howley won a Super Bowl MVP in a game the Cowboys lost to the Colts.
Wow, that's a good piece of trivia.
And in the Super Bowl against the Broncos, Harvey Martin and Randy White got co-MVPs. So you add them all up, and you throw in Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Larry Brown.
That is a really fun fact.
Versus just 5 Lombardis.
Yeah. That's actually the good part about Brady going to Tampa Bay is that he put a halt to the Patriots getting that most Super Bowl wins record for franchise, right?
Yeah.
So they're tied with the Steelers. And if he wins with Tampa Bay, doesn't help the Patriots. So that's nice.
Right. But of course, until Derek Carr gets to New England.
Right.
And then they go for 7.
Good segue to talk about what we're going to talk about on this show. Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson. These are the hot Deshaun Watson trade rumors right now. And as a Broncos fan, I've got a lot to say about the Raiders possibly getting Deshaun Watson. So we'll jump in on that. Like you know how many times on this podcast I say we're going to talk about these things, and then there's like 3 of them I don't mention, and we go off on a tangent on something else. And every time I'm like, I hope people aren't pissed that we didn't get to the 5 things that I said we would talk about. So we'll leave it at that. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit. Peyton Manning's getting into the Hall of Fame for sure. We'll have a little fun with that. Today's episode brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. And use code DNVR when you sign up to take advantage of their can't-miss offers. DNVR Locker for some of the best Colorado sports merch out there. If you use my last name, Perna, you get a discount there as well. So now you guys know. I did see, okay, so I think Pro Football Talk said they heard, before we get into that, last night on Twitter, we had, was it Mile High Memories? Crediting you. Big Will Keys fan, Mile High Memories on Twitter, and said they love listening to Will, that he's hilarious, and he plays the perfect funny man to my straight man bit. And
which I don't know about the roles there. I don't know if.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Was he being sarcastic, or am I the straight man on the podcast because I'm trying to steer the show sometimes?
Well, we know you're straight. You have a child.
Nailed that.
Came from you. So,
despite what my parents thought for most of my life, I'm into girls.
Yeah, I think we alternate between straight and crooked man. Is that what you call it, or just the funny guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's on the podcast. Usually your jokes are they're like the dry sense of humor, and you keep sort of the same tone. And there's been times where people in the comments point out the joke you made that I didn't hear because I'm thinking about the next thing I need to say. Like, I don't do a good job at I'm not a good podcast host.
Neither of us do.
Like, I wish I was better at this, but mostly we just shoot for trying to have a football conversation. And sometimes there's things to talk about and you want to get to them and it feels kind of forced, but I really don't like on the That's Good Sports show. I would hope I don't come off as a straight man. Like the whole thing is to be ridiculous there, but I don't know. Never know. But it's just good to see you get some attention. I think you deserve is the point.
It was nice. It was nice. I really appreciated it. And also, he mentioned that he listens to the podcast in the bedroom with his partner in bed.
Yes.
I think he just listens on headphones, but imagine if it was in like speakers.
Exactly.
Just blaring throughout the whole room. That'd be something.
Turn those assholes off.
Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Memories.
We like memories. All right. Well, it was Pro Football Talk that said they found out that Peyton Manning found out early that he's definitely getting into the Hall of Fame. That's not a surprise.
Oh, no. That's collusion.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Obviously, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I'm just we're 5 years out from Peyton Manning, right? We got 2016, 17, 18, 19. We've been through 5 seasons without him. And I feel like the Broncos are paying a price for having him. And I'm wondering if it was a 5-year price we had to pay as fans. This is, a metaphorical price to the devil where we just have to kind of suffer. Or if we're out of that and things are going to change for the Denver Broncos.
Well, I think so. You had 4 years of Peyton Manning, and then before that, you had a year of Tim Tebow, which was obviously instigated by some sort of contract with Satan himself.
Yeah.
So I think you add up those two, quarterback runs, the year of Tebow, 4 years of Manning, you get 5. Last 5 years, 5 versus 5. It's completely equal.
Debt paid.
Our fortune turns around starting now. Not starting last weekend because we missed out on Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
But starting officially
Deshaun Watson.
Now.
Yeah, because I started actually Dave Damashek messaged me about the proper pronunciation of Nikola Jokic. And it was about his first.
He brought up that on his podcast. I was listening to his podcast.
I sent him the info. I sent him Vic Lombardi's tweet video of Vic asking Jokic, like, have we been saying your first name wrong since you've been here? And he was basically like, yeah.
So it's Nikola.
Nikola. He's like, you just say it slow. It's Nikola. But I was like, why are you asking me? Like, if a player's name is longer than 5 letters, I'm going to probably not say it correctly. But then I remembered, I was like, I'm pretty sure Vic had something on that. And I found the clip and sent it to him.
Well, Dave on his podcast, Extra Points with cousin Sal, listen to it, but only after you've listened to this. So please don't click.
Yeah.
away.
Don't leave right now and be like, oh yeah, there's better podcasts out there.
Don't even pause it and save it for later. Just listen to this. But he attributed, because he got into argument about the pronunciation with cousin Sal, and Dave said that, like, oh yeah, I know how to pronounce those names. I'm from Pennsylvania, where there's a bunch of Eastern European names. So
that's funny. But
didn't get the credit you deserved, but that's okay.
Yeah, he said something about, I hope the Broncos get Deshaun Watson, and it got me thinking. Like, it was right after that's when the Derek Carr Raiders are willing to trade Derek Carr, Darren Waller, and 3 first-rounders to get Watson. And I was like, fuck. If the Raiders got Watson, you've got Mahomes locked up, and Justin Herbert is as good as, he looked this year.
Yeah.
There's a good chance the Broncos are going to be the fucking bottom feeders of the AFC West. And I was like, and I don't know how long that would last. And I got really scared for a little bit there, thinking about because the Broncos have never been, for a long time, have not been the worst team in the division where you could almost bank on that year in and year out. And it would be And I'm not saying like that would definitely happen if they got those guys. Doesn't mean Drew Lock, maybe doesn't evolve and turn into a threat. But if for the first time I was like, what the fuck would I do? Like, how do I approach everything if the Broncos are just perennially a bad team? And it scared me a bit at first, if I'm honest.
Well, I mean, that is obviously a nightmare scenario. And I hope to God it doesn't happen. And I think the Raiders will find a way to screw up any potential trade talks. But between the Chargers and the Raiders, they would fuck it up with one of their young quarterbacks.
That's true. Thank you.
One of them would. Down. Yeah. So but then, I mean, we might too, but that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Then I started thinking, Deshaun Watson's not going to the Raiders. And this isn't just to troll Raiders fans, all right? I think Deshaun Watson would have to be a fucking idiot to go play for the Las Vegas Raiders. Let me tell you why. He played incredible this last season for the Texans, and they finished with a losing record. Derek Carr, coming off one of his best seasons for the Raiders, finished with a losing record, right?
They were 8-8.
8-8.
Yeah.
But they shot the bed because their defense sucks and it's not getting any better. And they would have to give up all of their ammo to help Deshaun Watson. So why on earth would he go to the Raiders, who have a poor track record in free agency, a poor track record in the draft, to play against Patrick Mahomes every year, where he's probably going to be undermanned year in and year out? It just doesn't make sense for Watson to want to do that. Same way, like, I really am not sure the Broncos would make sense for him, but I think in terms of what he would have to work with on the offense, there's more weapons there. And they've had a track record of having a good defense when it was entirely injured. So I'm really not worried about Deshaun Watson going to the Raiders. But more than that, I would feel really bad for Derek Carr having to go to Houston, where old David Carr was already fucking totaled, impounded, and just destroyed by that organization. And it is in a far worse place now than it was back then.
Yeah, they were literally an expansion franchise, and they've gotten beneath expansion.
Yeah.
Back to BC, like Texans, BC, as after they're just in the common era. Like, they've traveled back in time. Really bad situation there. I don't know if the offensive line's as bad, or if players even get sacked that much anymore. But that would be a really horrible, horrible turn of events for Derek Carr. And I could see him also just refusing to play there.
Yeah.
If that happened. And I wouldn't blame him. His brother would also encourage it.
Yeah, it seems like it's just weird, right? Like, we saw the Chiefs move on from Alex Smith after his best season, but obviously they had somebody in the waiting for him in Patrick Mahomes. So if you're the Raiders, to me, it's like almost an identical scenario, except you don't already have Deshaun Watson on your roster, and he's the only guy you should really be thinking about moving for Carr. To me, like, when a quarterback plays really well and you still finish average, your team's got a lot more problems than just the QB. And
yeah,
the Raiders were weird because I didn't think they were good, and then they were winning enough. I was like, fuck, they're gonna be good, and then they weren't again. And I just think I'm not sold on John Gruden. I'm not sold on him and Mayock building a team together. And we saw them with 3 first-round draft picks not hit. I mean, they did all right, but like, with that many picks, you want to have picks that make your team a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, you had
Jacobs was in that, right?
The 6th pick, I think, was Cleveland Farrell, and that was an awful pick at the time. And not that he's an awful player, it's just the pick made no sense. Like, it was a total reach. Josh Allen the Jaguars, Josh Allen was on the board there if they wanted a pass rusher.
Right.
So it made absolutely no sense. Horrible, just understanding of value in the draft at large.
Was that 2018?
That was 2019. That was the
2019 draft.
Kyler Murray draft.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so they take Josh Jacobs, which you could have seen that happening from like a mile away. You watch an Alabama game from 2018 and you see Josh Jacobs run and you're like, oh, the Raiders are going to find a way to get this guy on their team. That's just a guarantee. And you could probably find a podcast where I said that ahead of time. And then, so, he's a good running back, obviously, but you can have a debate whether or not you want to pay a running back, first round money, spend a first round pick on him. And then whether it makes sense to re-sign him to a second contract after he's in the first round pick to get him. And then finally, of course, you get Jonathan Abram, who is like a really hard-hitting safety, but is kind of a dinosaur when it comes to playing defense in the modern NFL. He's more of a hitter, like enforcer, than he is any good at coverage. So he's like if you just plucked John Lynch out of 1994. Put him in the NFL today. It's like it'd probably take him a long time to adapt, and he wouldn't be very good for a while.
Right.
So yeah, not a great first round.
No, and the pick right after Cleveland Farrell is Devin White. You know what I mean?
Devin White, who's a major reason why the Bucs are in the Super Bowl right now.
Exactly. You also had, Ed Oliver goes top 10 there. Steelers took, Devin Bush when they swapped with the Broncos, Noah Fant.
You could have just had Noah Fant. That would have been a good pick too.
Yep. And then the really funny part is right before Jonathan Abram was selected, Washington takes Montez Sweat. So you get these better, you get Josh Allen goes to 2 after, Montez Sweat goes 1 before. If they would have taken either of those guys, they probably would have gotten more production in terms of pass rush.
A great pass rush. Yeah, which was a huge problem for them last year. And then they have 2 picks the year after, and they spend it on the deepest wide receiver class maybe ever, or the best one at least. You got Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Rager, and Ayuk all in the first 40 picks or whatever, and they took Henry Ruggs first out of all those guys.
Right. And you look at who went right after Ruggs is Tristan Wirfs.
Another big reason why the Buccaneers are in the Super Bowl right now.
Yeah, the Bucs have had 2 really solid drafts in terms of getting impact players on that team. It's insane.
Well, it's all Tom Brady though, right?
Right. Man, I've had so much fun watching Barry McCockiner just tweet out.
We should get him on the show.
Stat after stat. He was on Adam's super dumpster fire thing.
Was he?
Yeah.
Damn, I wish I could have been on with him.
Let's see, who else?
Presence of greatness.
Damon Arnett, yeah.
Damon Arnett was a huge reach at the time. I don't know if he'll be good or not. He's got weird kind of red hair, so he stands out on the football field. I don't know if he's I think he was injured a lot of the year, but also wasn't very good when he was playing. I mean, someone you can correct me if I'm wrong. So I don't know the performance of everyone in that Raiders secondary, but I don't remember a lot of great things from him.
No. Yeah, and what I think what I've learned through this last draft, and I've been following the NFL very closely since I started doing this channel in 2013, but more closely over the last 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you pick up things that you didn't really know before. On the surface, but if a draft is truly deep at a position, last year, everybody's this is a really deep wide receiver draft. And if you have a top pick there, don't take one of the players at the deepest position group because you're going to get much better value later. You look at like Jefferson goes 22, but they should go to the second round. Like the first pick, the Bengals take T. Higgins, who I think really good, underrated receiver. Michael Pittman Jr. by the Colts, who started to look good. Fucking
Laviska in there. Laviska
Shenault. And why can't I remember his stupid Chase Claypool? God, I called him Chasing Claymores in our draft name episode, like a dumb band reference. And every time I think of, that's what I think his name is now. It's a sign of my bad brain, but it's like, wait for those guys, like just take them a little later and get a better player at a greater position of need, or, something that you're not going to be able to get later in the draft. And I think
you better just like nail the best guy out of all of them.
And the Raiders
took one of the, like, I don't know. It's been 1 year, so you don't really know. But in terms of rookie performance, was way below all those guys that you mentioned.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me. And I think Ruggs might, turn out to be a solid receiver for a good amount of time in the NFL, but the Raiders are not great at finding value. I'll say that. And if I was Deshaun Watson, I would be very worried about that.
Yeah, they just don't understand how the draft works.
Yeah.
So maybe it is a good idea for them to trade like 5 first rounders for Deshaun Watson in that case. But here's the thing though, when you give up picks to get a great quarterback, it's kind of a conundrum, a paradox, catch 25. It's that, you're trying to surround a great quarterback with as many good pieces as you can.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you have to give up a ton of draft capital and a couple players too, that are currently on your team, some of your best players. And so you're kind of just, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul a little bit there.
Yeah.
And so you go from one situation, which is really bad in Houston, and to get out of that situation, you have to make that situation worse. Right.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it's why the Broncos are in a weird place where.
Yeah. So if you're like Deshaun Watson, you'd be like, just trade me for like a third rounder.
Yeah.
That'd be the best case scenario for him.
Exactly. But since he has to force his way out of there, the Texans are going to try and get as much as possible for him. Obviously, like, why wouldn't you?
It makes sense to go somewhere like Denver where you feel like they already have all the offensive pieces.
Yeah.
Right. So if you like give up your next 2 first rounders, you still got like the guys there already.
Right. And like, that's the one thing Denver has going for them is to say,
on offense, at least.
Offensively, we've got all these things. Yes, we had a losing record last year, but at one point in the season, we didn't have any starting players on our defensive line. We've got this young guy on there, Draymond Jones, who's starting to play really well. We've got some other young pieces. We'll get that back. We had 5 starting corners go down. We were playing without 5 of our corners. 5 of our corners, Deshaun. Those guys will be back. And
4 of our quarterbacks.
Yeah, we went through. We started 4 different QBs. We started a wide receiver at quarterback one time. So on the surface, yeah, we don't look like a good team. We understand that, but we're better, and you're gonna look better when you make us great.
Correct.
That's my sales pitch. Here's the thing. What's nice is knowing the Broncos did inquire about Stafford. It says that, George Payton going to be looking at quarterbacks. And we talked about this briefly on Sunday, and I heard a little bit more about this. So the reason that was pitched immediately after, Goff goes to Detroit was that the Broncos didn't want to give up Drew Lock to get Matthew Stafford.
Doesn't make sense.
Like, that is what you say right after you try to trade your quarterback, right?
Right.
And then it was Kliss was saying, well, is some young offensive talent they didn't want to get rid of. But the guy, I think that the Lions wanted Jerry Jeudy.
I agree.
And the 9th pick. And the Broncos weren't going to give up Jerry Jeudy. I wouldn't either, obviously, because that's a guy you want to keep for your quarterback that you're trying to get. And so I tweeted about this saying, like, the Broncos not willing to give up Locke for the guy that they think is better than Locke to come in and play quarterback doesn't make any sense. Most people agree. And then some people, there's just sometimes the responses are so funny to me where they're like, well, yeah, they wanted Locke to be mentored by Stafford. No. Stafford's only going to play for 2 years anyway. Then Locke takes over.
Wrong.
What makes you think, well, Tom Brady's 43, Drew Brees 42, 41, 42. He's quitting. Aaron Rodgers 37. Phillip Rivers just played at like Stafford has like 5 years left, probably. He's a fucking tough quarterback. He's going to keep playing. And the idea to me that you wouldn't give up your second round draft pick QB for the guy would be better doesn't make any sense. I know that the Broncos have to say that because if you're stuck with Locke, you don't want him thinking you just tried to throw him away to trade him. That's going to piss him off.
You think Drew Lock could like be able to see through that too. And I think for Drew Lock, like during this whole thing, you just kind of have to accept like, I didn't play very well in 2020 and this is what happens.
Yeah. And if I don't get better, this could be the narrative.
You can't pull a Jay Cutler because Jay Cutler was coming off a Pro Bowl season. And they tried to trade him for Matt fucking Castle. But Drew Lock coming off of like a 16 touchdown, 15 pick year. Yeah, like you would expect a team to try to upgrade. And if they don't end up upgrading, then you got to roll in and be like, all right, well, I got to be better next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It is maybe this offseason more than any, quarterback business in the NFL is tough. It's
real tough.
I just saw again today that Carson Wentz wants out from Philly. So
maybe watch Nick Sirianni's press conference and he was like, I gotta go.
I gotta get out of here. Like there's so many. Yeah, there's so many quarterbacks that might be on the move. And honestly, I hope they all are because that's a lot of videos for us to do this offseason, which will be fun. But what I wanted to say, I keep forgetting to say this, like because I get enamored by Matthew Stafford. Deshaun Watson would be the equivalent of getting Peyton Manning again in my eyes. Like that's how good I think Deshaun Watson is in terms of instantly you can start betting on your team being a playoff team, like instantly. But the difference is Watson's in the prime of his career. Manning we didn't know if he could throw it. But what I wanted to say, the Broncos, I'm fine with the Broncos starting 2021 football season with Drew Lock. Like that's the worst case scenario. And I still have a little bit of hope, like he can be a good quarterback. So like, I'm still fine with Drew Lock being the guy next year. But when upgrades seem like more realistic possibilities than they ever have before, I am all in on hoping the Broncos are able to rectify what has been the biggest weakness on the team. And that includes this last season. Not all Drew Lock's fault, but fuck, I would have taken Stafford and I would have loved it. I would take Deshaun Watson, obviously, even though, like I said, the Broncos don't have enough to give up to get him. Who knows at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, you can always find enough to give up. It just depends how willing you are.
I think the Rams gave me hope.
Yeah, after the first round this year, like it's all a mystery. You don't know where you're picking next year. You assume that if you're getting Deshaun Watson, you're going to be picking lower.
After like at 26.
Yeah.
And lower.
Right. So the 9th pick that's worth something. You could probably find a quarterback there if you wanted to. You might have to reach a little bit. You're probably not going to get the top 3, but it's ammo to work with. Depends what you want to do. I don't know if I was Houston, like I don't think I'd want to draft a quarterback this year and put him on this shitty team anyway and ruin him. I would just try to like build some infrastructure so when you do take a quarterback, you can drop him in a situation where he's not going to get David Carr into the impound lot.
Exactly. If you're trying to better your team, you're trying to better your life. The 55th big game this weekend is the Super Bowl, guys. 55. A game this big deserves a big prize, not just some
Are you allowed
trophy.
to say the Super Bowl?
What?
Are you allowed to say the Super Bowl?
I don't think in this ad I am. To finish off the football season, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is giving all players a no-brainer of an offer. To celebrate football's finale, DraftKings Sportsbook is doubling your money if a touchdown is scored in the big game. That's right. All it takes is for one touchdown to be scored Sunday night, and boom, your money is doubled. Sounds like a no-brainer. As if this game wasn't reason to party, well, not according to Dr. Anthony Fauci. He says no Super Bowl parties. You can double your cash, and that will be worth celebrating till next season. Don't forget about DraftKings Big Game Prediction Challenge with up to $55 million in total prizes up for grabs and instant prizes for everyone who enters the contest. DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to its players since 2012, so they know a thing or two about big paydays. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code DNVR to get a shot at doubling your money if a touchdown is scored in Sunday's game. That's promo code DNVR to get a shot at doubling your money during Sunday night's finale. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You got to be 21 or older. Colorado only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/predictions-challenge-DFS for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. NFL needs to lift that.
Yeah.
Everybody should be able to say annoying. Super Bowl. It doesn't help you by not allowing people to say it.
You know the game you're referring to.
Yeah. We know.
It's time again for the large contest that happens the first week of February every year.
Yeah.
Between the best team from one side of the NFL bracket and the other side of the bracket.
Yeah.
What could he be talking about? The Pro Bowl, of course.
The big football bracket game.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about no Super Bowl party, but he didn't say anything about Pro Bowl parties. So I had 75 people over at my apartment watch the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I don't even want to fucking be around people. I've been sick for 3 fucking weeks after daycare brought home. Everybody said
and none of it was COVID.
No, I've been tested twice. I'm clear. And everybody's like, as a new parent, they're like, the first couple months of daycare are fucking rough. That first winter is terrible. Everybody gets sick. They bring home shit and you're going to be sick. Our daughter made it a week and a half before bringing something home. Turned out to be a sinus infection for me, which doesn't go away without antibiotics. I haven't had antibiotics for fucking years. I just started feeling better after 6 days on that shit. And then our daughter gets sick again. Ugh. And now she's got to go on the stuff. And the crazy part about when you give a baby antibiotics, which I don't want to have to do, right? Like that's something you don't want to take too much of. It turns their shit red. So she just shits out poop that looks like red velvet cake now. It smells fucking weird. She's
horrible.
It's so hard. Like I've never had more respect for parents than I do now because you get sick, your kid's sick, which means they can't sleep right. So you're getting less sleep, which is the one thing you need to get better, which is what they need to get better. And it becomes like the last month has been fucking, it's been hard.
It's like trading all your first round picks for a quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not to complain. Life's good. I don't want to be a complainer, but fuck, man.
That's okay. I think we can all complain a little bit right now.
Yeah. We've been handling, being parents pretty well. There's challenges, but this last month was by far like the toughest. And now she's back at daycare today. She's on antibiotics. Hope she's okay. But yeah. I know there's kids that are sick there right now. And my wife and I are like,
what's she going to bring home next? Like smallpox?
Yeah. Like, we're just praying we don't get sick again. Plague? Yeah.
off the podcast through the Black Death next week.
Yeah.
That's all right, though. It's good for the immune system.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, they say she'll have a good immune system growing up because it'll be fucking attacked early, which is fine. Like, my wife has an insanely good immune system, but that's why she kicked the same infection in a week, and it took me 3 weeks.
Jealous. Are you jealous?
Yeah, it's only the second time I've ever seen her get sick, too. So, anyway, Deshaun Watson, what were you saying?
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to read a few excerpts from this Las Vegas Review Journal article, which is written by Vincent Bonsignor, who sounds like a side character from The Godfather Part 3. That movie's so bad. I watched the re-edit recently, and it's just trash.
Yeah, Jess ordered that, and she still hasn't watched it. And then I found out it cost money to order, and I was like, what the fuck? You didn't even finish it.
Yeah, same. I didn't finish it either. It's like $4. So he wrote that the Raiders would have to receive 2 first-round picks for Derek Carr from a team other than the Texans, which they would then package with their own first-rounders in 2021 and 2022 to present a compelling offer of 4 first-round picks to the Texans for Watson. So that he's basically making out the case for how the Raiders will trade for Deshaun Watson, and it's already off to a bad start because it involves someone giving up 2 first-round picks for Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is not bad. He's good. But I don't think I would give up 2 first-round picks for him.
No. It's man. That makes sense though, in that because I've heard like Derek Carr to the Texans, right? So that makes sense in that using Derek Carr to get the ammo they need to get Watson. But that's assuming you can get that value out of Derek Carr, which
it would have to be a 3-way trade too. It's not like they're gonna just trade Derek Carr and then hope that that's enough.
Yeah, right.
Then you're really fucked.
Actually, that would be the most Raiders thing I think we could see happen.
That would be really funny. And then they're already out of range for a quarterback too. That's great. So that he basically used the Matt Stafford trade as a precedent, which logically doesn't make sense because I think a big reason that they got 2 first-rounders, the Lions, is because they were also eating Jared Goff's huge contract, which they would not be unless they're taking a huge contract from whoever trades for Derek Carr. It's not going to happen because they're trying to make room for Deshaun Watson. So I'm going to X through that one.
I'm happy that Stafford went to the Rams, but the Rams really fucked up the QB market because
they did. Yeah.
They got Stafford because they outbid everybody significantly to get him. So now the impression is this is what it takes. And if they didn't come in with that, like he would have went for, I think, maybe 1 first-rounder and another pick. I think like Washington or the Panthers offered their first pick and a third. The Colts wouldn't even offer their first rounder. They had other packages they talked about. So like the Rams, they fucked all of us in the Deshaun Watson for a fair price.
Right. You don't have to do that too. Like you don't have to blow their doors down because they're not keeping Stafford. There's not the option that they could just say no to all the trades. They're just trying to find the best trade and then they'll pull the trigger. With the Texans, like you really have to, make them an offer they can't refuse. Because their first option, from what they're saying, is that they want to keep Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
So they're going to do that. Like I think they'll get rid of him eventually, and probably sooner than if they were smart, they'd trade him before the draft while his value is at the highest.
Exactly. And I just have
he'll sit out. I believe he'll sit out too.
Oh yeah, he's not fucking around anymore.
He'll pull a Carson Palmer if he has to, and I think he should.
I think things are worse than we can even imagine. in Houston in his eyes.
So it's there will be blood all over again.
It's a good Godfather callback. We had the wedding scene on. It just started. It was on the TV for like 30 minutes, and got the whole Michael telling his lady friend at the wedding. Oh God, who played his girlfriend?
It was Diane Keaton.
Yeah. Telling Diane Keaton, his father made him an offer they can't refuse. So that reference is fresh in my mind. Very good callback. Earlier when I said I miss the jokes that you say, this one I didn't miss. Mm-hmm. Didn't miss it, Will. Okay, next tidbit you want to bring.
On top of it.
Yep.
Yeah, and so the second part is clubs that could get involved in the Derek Carr part of the trade are the Colts, Bears, Patriots, and the Washington football team. Depending on what happens in New Orleans, you could also think about the Saints. So Colts, Bears, Patriots, football team, Saints, all potential targets for Derek Carr. I think he'd be really good on the Colts. I think he.
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea what to think about the Patriots. The Bears. I don't know. It's very hard to picture a good quarterback playing in Chicago at this point.
Yeah,
I know he's absolutely better than whatever they had last year, and he's better than a lot of other options. But it's just hard to picture like a lot of success at that position in a Bears uniform because it just doesn't happen. The Patriots have no weapons. That's not going to change that fact. And you take away 2 first-round picks from them, at least, you give up your first-round picks in a trade. You can't get them taken away by Roger Goodell. So
that's true.
Some bright side. And then the Saints, I don't know how they're paying anybody. So
no, the Saints said they want Jameis Winston, which I think they want Jameis Winston because they can probably afford him in some way. I don't know why anybody would want Jameis Winston. I don't understand it. I don't understand.
I don't either. He gets thrown around so often, and a lot of people are bringing up his name for Denver too.
No,
I don't.
Yeah, I heard Mike Kliss name him too. It's do you guys forget how many fucking interceptions he threw?
It's like they just close one eye and look at the touchdowns on Pro Football Reference and just conveniently ignore the other side of the column.
Yeah, I just saw Good Morning Football.
33 touchdowns.
Yeah.
4,900 yards. Awesome. Why did they only, why didn't they make the playoffs? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, right. Because he lost all those games.
Yeah.
Good Morning Football did a thing. They referenced they were at Tampa Bay last year for the final game of the season, and Kyle Brandt and Kay Adams flipped a coin to determine.
Kay Adams, by the way, is the name of Michael Corleone's girlfriend.
Yes, damn it, that's right.
In The Godfather.
I heard that, and I told Jess, I was like, the only other Kay Adams I know is she's one of the hosts on Good Morning Football, and the woman I would have married if I didn't marry you. I didn't say that part.
Yeah, got that one. That was for the internal monologue.
Yeah, but she was like, oh, it's Diane Keaton as Kay Adams, and then I couldn't remember Diane Keaton here. Anyway, they flipped a coin to determine whether Jameis Winston on the first series would throw a touchdown or a pick, and they got it for touchdown. So Bucs fans were excited or whatever. His first throw of the game was a pick six.
That's right.
That's what, go back and watch how bad he was. And don't tell me ever fucking again with an ounce of football integrity that you want that guy to be your quarterback to lead you anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't care about shitting on Jameis Winston either. He's a fucking shitty human. So
shitty, he's uncomfortable to watch throw the football. It just looks weird coming out of his hands, and looks painful almost. it's just not. I like watching a quarterback throw a nice clean ball. Like that's with Jared Goff. Like he throws in just a nice looking pass, and I like there's something to that. Winston, it's just a bunch of like limbs like flailing around.
Yeah, it's got that Phillip Rivers thing.
Yeah, it's like when he throws a touchdown, it's like it feels like a miracle, and then when he throws a pick, it just feels like yeah, that's what should happen when you throw the ball like a dumbass like that.
Yeah. That said, I think he could have beat the Bucs over Drew Brees starting that game. We talked a little bit about that, but because Brees threw 3 picks, at least with Jameis, he's gonna complete some balls.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. What's the final tidbit here?
Yeah. So back to the value thing. It could get to 2 first-round picks, one in NFL Insider said, of the return the Raiders could receive for Carr. He's not Stafford. Yeah, no fucking kidding. But he's younger, and he has a fair contract, so I could see 2 number ones. Here's where I disagree. The biggest point here is that he's not Stafford. And then he goes on to say, but he's younger and has a fair contract, so I could see 2 number ones. There's a lot of quarterbacks who are younger than Stafford and have more favorable contracts.
Yeah.
The big thing is that they aren't Matthew Stafford. And so that's why they're not going to go for 2 number ones.
Right.
Like, who else is younger than Matthew Stafford and has a better contract? Drew Lock.
Yeah. Nobody's giving up 2 ones.
Yeah.
That's really funny. That's a good observation.
I don't get it. I don't know who that NFL Insider was, but I'm not sure I agree with him.
It's going to be really shitty when the Raiders get 2 first-round picks for Derek Carr, and we're like, why? Why? I guess, I don't understand why the Raiders would want to get rid of him then if he has a fair contract and
right, and he's younger than Stafford.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a lot of circular logic that if you scrutinize it for any more than a second, you're going to be like, this isn't going to happen, is it?
Yeah.
So that's what we got out of world-class journalism from the Las Vegas Review Journal.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, it's an interesting idea, and I think the idea of a 3-team trade is a good one. But the logic breaks down a little bit for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping this offseason we get as much movement as we think. I feel like every pre-free agency period, there's a lot of hype about shit. And it's really hard to differentiate between truth and rumor. There are so many people on Twitter that are associated with teams or on beats somewhere, and they say shit and then people run with it, and it gets said or retweeted so much that it starts to become something you just assume's true, but you don't know. So it's I always try to check to see if Schefter or Rappaport has tweeted something about it, because if they do, you can bank on there being truth there. That's why the Watson stuff, when it was coming out, I was like, oh yeah, let's make a video about this, because if they're saying he's unhappy, in addition to whatever, then there's probably truth to it. So I saw that the Rams inquired about Aaron Rodgers, and I saw it somewhere where it seemed like a credible place. Then I saw that wasn't true. At least the Packers said they never called us about him. And it's just I don't know how to differentiate between who's trying to blow a PR smokescreen and who just made that up. You know what I mean? So with all of these QB things, it seems like we could see a lot of crazy shit happen, or we could all be let down, and Derek Carr will be at the Raiders. Drew Lock will be with the Broncos. Watson will be in Houston. Wentz will stay with Philly. And we've already Cousins will stay with the Vikings and not go to the 49ers. Jimmy G plays.
That one's weird, right?
The Cousins to the 49ers.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's an upgrade from Garoppolo. Yeah. I just don't know if it's enough of an upgrade to, like, at that point, like, if you're trying to upgrade over Garoppolo, you should swing a little further.
Swing a little higher. Right? It's like Kirk Cousins is enough of an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo to get you back to the Super Bowl, and you'll lose by less points.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
I think Kirk Cousins is a lot better than people give him credit. Give him credit for. But I think Jimmy Garoppolo is too.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with Garoppolo is just he hasn't been able to stay healthy for Kyle Shanahan. So
yeah, that's true, and that's the huge part of it.
That's frustrating. It's not like his fault, but it's got to be frustrating as a head coach.
Part of the deal. Yeah.
It also shows just, I think, like how confident Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay are in what they do offensively, where they both, and I'm sure they were both advocates for getting Jared Goff and paying Jimmy Garoppolo a shit ton of money, but they're like, this isn't working anymore. We need to move on. Like, this guy can't get me further.
Also, like, it's good for like it's good for like that quarterback's reputation that those kinds of coaches would be like, yeah, I like him. It's like if Kirk Cousins was a stock and Kyle Shanahan bought a share of Kirk Cousins and people found out, everyone would start buying Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. He's a Reddit Wall Street guy or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. If you saw like Kyle Shanahan really liked this guy in the draft, you're like, we need to like look into this guy some more.
Yeah. And I mean, Cousins has been the Shanahan's guy ever since Washington drafted him, right? So the relationship makes sense. And Cousins is nobody may be more unfairly treated than Kirk Cousins in terms of a good quarterback. Even like Vikings fans shit on him, and like, you guys are watching him play pretty good. He's not the reason he's not an elite quarterback every week, but he's pretty damn good most of the time, which you would think like Minnesota would appreciate after having Case Keenum, Brett Favre before in his twilight years. Like, I don't know. People just always want something different too, I think. It's like Broncos fans with Drew Lock. It's just hard when you're not winning.
I think teams, when you have like a quarterback who's good enough, you should ask yourself, like, how do you make the team better?
Yeah.
Rather than finding an even better quarterback. Like, it's easier to just improve your team, I think.
Yeah. Why didn't Kirk Cousins stop Alvin Kamara from rushing for 6 touchdowns, you know?
Yeah. How was he thinking? Come on.
Why couldn't Alvin Kamara have saved that game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs, you know?
All right. Come on, Kirk. Why did he let the 49ers run all over them in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Why did he let Nick Foles beat him in the NFC Championship game? Oh, yeah, he wasn't there yet, but still.
Yeah.
Why?
That's why.
So yeah, we'll see some quarterback movement. I think we'll see. Not all of those guys we mentioned will leave, but a few of them. And then we have the draft, of course. So there's I know Schefter said like 18 quarterbacks could move. I don't think that's going to happen, but
yeah,
quite a few will.
Ooh, that sucks. Marty Schottenheimer moved to hospice facility.
Oh,
has Alzheimer's. That sucks.
That does suck.
I just saw that on Twitter. Schottenheimer, in line with Kirk Cousins, never gets the credit he deserved for being just a fucking really good head coach. People just go Marty Ball, because they would lose in the playoffs, but really good head coach.
Well, if his fucking defense could have tightened up once over the course of 98 yards, he would be in the Super Bowl. Or if his, if his running back doesn't drop the ball at the 5-yard line, could also be in the Super Bowl.
Could have been in 2 Super Bowls with Cleveland. Could have gotten to the Super Bowl with the Chargers, and was pretty damn good in Kansas City. So also bounced by Elway in the playoffs in Kansas City too.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, shitty disease. I'll put the link for our Alzheimer's charity event. We've raised like $6,500 towards the $10,000 goal. And I've watched both of my grandparents go through it. And so that's why I'm raising money for it. We're going to destroy the giant Tom Brady Lego head. So I'll donate more money to it too. Once we get close, like to finish this shit off. And hopefully the NFL does something to pitch in and contribute to this, seeing this Marty Schottenheimer news. It's just like, I fucking hate it every time I see it. It's because it's like one of those things where you know how long it takes to go through, and you watch just the slow deterioration of somebody's mind. You went through it with your grandpa, right?
Yeah, my grandpa passed a little over a year ago, and then my grandma, who's still alive and lives in Colorado, and then I know people like friends of my parents who were diagnosed in their 50s.
Yeah,
too.
Early onset.
Totally, it's super scary as well, because talk about like that takes a long time. That takes a long time. Like they're totally aware that it's happening to them as well, which is
and it's the Alzheimer's Foundation. Like my sister works there, and what's cool about it is like a lot of people think you're like just donating for like research and trying to find a cure, and like some money goes to that, but it also goes to like supporting families dealing with it. So providing resources and things for them, like to help them get through it, and to, build communities for them to have resources to people to talk to. So it's, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. And not to end this thing on like a sad note. I wasn't even planning on.
I've got a better note to end it on if you want.
Good.
To, but kind of involves all of it. One of the last like times I talked to my grandpa while he could like actually have a conversation, I asked him about some of his favorite movies, and then I asked him what he thought about The Godfather, and he said he didn't like it.
Oh man, that's so funny. I remember the reason I purchased the Godfather trilogy on the box set was because my grandparents recommended it. It was like the first time I was learning about our Italian like heritage, and they're like, yeah, they're good. I don't know how it got. I was like, I got to get those movies then.
I got the VHS tapes of The Godfather 1 and 2.
I got all 3. But
market.
Yeah.
You can skip 3 probably.
Yep. First 2 are really good.
Agreed.
Oh, a little side note. Because somebody tweeted me that I got a shout out on the Pajama Pants podcast, which is the one my friend that my friend Cassim hosts with Jamie Lynn Siegler and Robert Eiler. So Meadow and AJ Soprano. And we didn't really get a shout out. They were just talking about the YouTubers that followed the podcast on YouTube. And they were saying that Cassim, who had this channel, like had like 2 or 3 million subs in the heyday. They're like, you're not even following our own podcast. And they just started reading it. And Robert was like, that's good sports. And then Cassim's like, yeah, I know most of those top guys that are following us. And then he's like, even that's good sports? So if you want to hear AJ Soprano say that's good sports, it's in that episode.
It's like that scene in The Sopranos where AJ's on the computer and Tony Soprano like peeks his head in, just has a disgusting look on his face. we should like edit that video so he's in the room listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
When he walks in.
Is he watching porn on that?
Oh no, it's just something that like Tony totally disapproves of. I'll look it up and then I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
but
send me that clip.
That would be a very easy edit.
Sweet. Yeah, then I'll tweet it to them.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Good night. And John Elway's ACL was never good luck. But it was.